Hey everyone, welcome to episode 7 of the Gotham Graffiti podcast. My name is Scott, this is my cousin Gunnar. We're so excited to be back here again with you guys. If you would, please hit that subscribe bell, just so you know when we have new content coming out, and just so we can get our stuff easier to you guys. But we've got an exciting day here today. We're going to be talking about some of the Batman Beyond stuff that has come out in the last couple of days. So let's start with you. Kind of tell everyone what's going on and kind of what your thoughts are.
Well, before we jump into it, I have one serious question for Warner Brothers. Are you allergic to making money? Because this is one of, I don't think we have enough fingers on our hands to count the pitches that Warner Brothers has given that we find out about later that they turn down for something else. And it's like, oh, y'all don't want to make money. So for those of you that didn't see it, and I think everybody did, because now all of a sudden everyone's a Batman Beyond fan.
Yeah.
But there was a leak of some concept art for a pitched animated Batman Beyond movie and the kind of Spider-Verse treatment. Mm-hmm. And it looked great. It looked amazing. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know why Warner Brothers has this thing with Batman Beyond where they keep saying no, because there was the pitch Batman Beyond game. Now there's this. They keep turning down these ideas.
Well, not only that, remember they were possibly gonna do a live action one with Michael Keaton after the Flash.
And they turned that down.
Yep.
They keep turning down these Batman Beyond pitches. There was also in the early 2000s there was a pitch for a Batman Beyond movie with Clint Eastwood playing an aged Batman.
Right. I do.
So they've
that.
turned down in total that we know of 4 Batman Beyond pitches. 4 of them. I don't know why they don't like Terry as a character. I don't know what it is. But yeah, so just kind of my thoughts. I think it looks great. I would love to see it. I don't know why they didn't go through with it. Sometimes we've seen stuff like this where, companies they'll release a rejected pitched idea to see how people react, to see if they'd be like, okay, well, maybe let's do it. So, so we're just going to kind of run through some of our thoughts, what we would like to see if this movie does get made or something similar to it in the future. And something for me, just off rip, I want to see is I want to see the exact same Bruce ending as Batman. Don't change it. Don't change it. It is pivotal. It is vital.
You mean the one where he has a heart attack while he's Batman?
And he has to pull the gun. Don't touch it. Leave it the way it is. You see these movie companies where they're like, oh, we want to update things and make it fresh. No. Leave it the exact way it was. Don't change it. It's perfect. That's one of the big ones for me. The second one is I want to see a Kingpin and Daredevil style Derek Powers. Because Derek Powers was more or less responsible for the death of Terry's father, the transformation he goes through as Blight. To me, he's my favorite and most intriguing villain in the show, I think. I really like, especially once you get into the end of the first season, the stuff with his son. Yeah. I really like Blight and Powers as a character, so I would really, really want to see Powers, as well as same thing as Bruce's, leave Terry's origin alone. The Joker's kill his dad. Leave it alone. Don't fix it. Don't freshen it up. Don't give your take. Leave it alone and do exactly how the 90s show did it and why he's as popular as he is now. Mm-hmm. I also, the last 2 real big things I wanted to hit on that I wanted to see were, I really want to see a transition of Bruce and Terry's relationship. Because you'd have to do it in an hour and a half to 2 hour movie. You can't do it the way the show did over the course of 3 seasons. But, one of the best things about the show is the fact that, you see those edits on TikTok or memes on Instagram. People are like, oh, who's Batman's best successor? Nightwing or whoever it is. And it's always like, well, it's actually Terry. Yeah. Terry's actually the best successor of the Batman. And it's because a lot of it is due to him and Bruce's relationship. Especially the fact that in Justice League, we find out that he's his biological son. So there's that. I want to see a Bruce that is bitter and angry and doesn't want to work with Terry and wants nothing to do with it. And halfway maybe through the movie we get that where in the show, Terry's in the apartment with his mom and she's like, "Hey, Terry, you have a visitor." And Bruce is like, would you like a job with me at Wayne Enterprises? And Terry's like, yeah. So I want to see that. I would love to see the kind of father-son relationship take. I'm not saying they have to do the reveal of them being father and son, because that doesn't come till way later in the canon. But just that kind of dynamic, I really want to see that. And then lastly, I want to see something that I really liked about Batman Beyond that I see some people didn't like from the show. I love the fact that Barbara Gordon and the GCPD didn't want Batman in the town. I think it just added for another layer of storytelling, but like also just like because Bruce and Barbara are so intertwined, and because you get the backstory of what happened in Return of the Joker, like it makes sense why Barbara doesn't want there to be a Bat family. And, you know, by the end of the show, Barbara's pretty come around to it. But, like, I would like to see, like, no, like, the GCPD and Barbara Gordon as the commissioner are, like, hunting down Batman.
Yeah.
And maybe you get that scene in that conversation where she's talking to Bruce or she's talking to Terry in the cave and being like, look,
stay out
here's your one chance. Stop. And then, of course, they're not going to. And, like, so now you've got whatever antagonist you choose to do. We saw Ink in the concept art, so we're left to assume that Ink was going to be at the very least one of the antagonists. So, you know, you've got Ink or Powers or whoever you do as the antagonist, but also you get kind of almost like a Batman Year One vibe. Where he's trying to do this other thing, but the police keep getting in the way. And maybe not because of corruption, not necessarily because of that, but just the fact that they don't want him around.
Yeah.
So he's this young kid struggling with a relationship with Dana, high school, trying to be a good older brother, trying to be there for his mom, while trying to be Batman and take down whatever antagonist he has in the movie, while also dealing with having to defend himself against Barbara Gordon and the GCPD. So those are kind of just my rough shot, quick spark notes of things I like to see, considering the fact that we didn't get any real information. We just saw some pictures and saw that we got a pitch. But what about you? What are some things you wanted?
Well, so just to kind of reiterate kind of what you said, like, I mean, the leaks that we saw, they look great. Like they just visually look fantastic. And I, like you said, I really hope that this is like them kind of fishing for reactions.
Yeah, kind of feeling it out.
Because like you said, we had the video game, the 2 movies, and now this. Or the 2 live-action movies, and now the animated movie that we're not going to get. I mean, hopefully we do. But kind of some of the things that I wanted to see, Blight was one of the things that biggest thing I wanted to see, like him, because like the scene where they're on the yacht at the end of the first season, where he's like, you killed my father, and he's like, do you have the slightest idea of how little that narrows it down? Like that's just like I think.
Then, wait, what does Terry say? He goes, Terry has a good clap back. Oh, I can't remember what he says. He says something like, well, it doesn't matter because you killed my dad. It's something like that where he's like, I don't care how little it narrows it down.
But yeah, like he's probably my favorite villain. Maybe him and like Ink and was it Shockwave? Is that his name?
You're talking about
the guy with the.
It's not Shockwave. It's
Anyway.
Here, we're going to edit really quick because that's going to drive me nuts, and I don't want people to think we don't know what we're talking about. So it's Shriek.
Yeah, so Shriek, like those are probably my 3 favorite villains from the show. And I'd love to see, because I think with Batman Beyond, because a lot of his villains, other than like the Joker and Mr. Freeze that they reuse, not a lot of people know like the villains from Batman or Batman Beyond, and I think that would be a really good way to introduce them. Is just like maybe have a couple of them.
Also, the fact that they're all original.
Yeah, and also kind of like what you were saying about the relationship between Bruce and Terry. You know, because usually animated movies are not. They're usually like an hour 20, hour 45, whatever it is. I honestly wouldn't mind if they, because like the Across the Spider-Verse movie, that was like 2 hours.
I was gonna say it was like it hit the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, so like I wouldn't be opposed to like if they wanted to make this a trilogy or have a couple of movies or whatever. Like I wouldn't mind it being like a 2.5 hour movie, because there's just so much that happens in those 3 seasons of Batman Beyond. Especially with the relationship with them. It'd be really cool if in sequels we got the futuristic version of the Justice League. Maybe even Superman makes an appearance. Maybe not in the first one, but like later on. But yeah, those are just some of the things that we'd like to see.
Also, like the other thing is like, in terms of marketability, dude, if you're trying to make an animated movie to market towards kids,
Also to compete with Spider-Verse.
Like, what Miles Morales is doing for this new generation of Spider-Man fans is what Terry could do for Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get a different Batman. So, like, kids that don't identify with Batman, he's too dark, he's too brooding, he's old, whatever. You get this young, kind of punk, rebel high school kid who becomes Batman. It's like, that's what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode. I don't know why they have turned down all these. I don't understand. The only one that I can kind of maybe get a little bit, even though I don't think it was the better pitch, was the Batgirl one, where they subbed out the pitch for Batman Beyond for the Batgirl movie. Where it's like, okay, like, I get it. Like, that's not what I would have done, but I understand why you think that was a good idea. But it's like it's like, what are y'all doing? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I think he prints money for Warner Brothers in DC. So hopefully we'll, maybe one day get to see a Batman Beyond project. But for now, and you know what? Maybe this, part 2 of Crisis kind of leads into that.
Oh, potentially.
Maybe
because he's going to be in
Yeah,
part
so
2,
we've seen in the trailer for the second part of the Crisis animated movies, Batman Beyond's going to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if it's like DCAU Terry or if it's like a different version, but we're getting Terry as Batman Beyond. So that might be something we see set up. It might be, once again, them kind of testing things out, seeing the response to that. So, we'll go from there and we'll see. But, those were our thoughts on the new Batman Beyond pitch that got rejected.
Mm-hmm. And now we're going to go into Read of the Week, and it's going to be a little different because I'm doing it this week.
He's doing it.
So we'll be right back. All right, so for our Read of the Week this week that I'm doing, we have the Star Wars run. I believe this is from 2015, 2016, something like that. Just to kind of put an asterisk on this, there's like 10 books in this line that I have. This is just the first one. So I've only read the first one so far, but it was good enough that I felt like it was worth a Read of the Week. Yeah. And I'm excited to be collecting more of these because the stuff that it sets up in this is just fantastic. So just to give a little context, this series is set in between A New Hope and
Empire?
Empire, yes. Empire Strikes Back. And it goes through, so it pretty much just starts out as the rebels doing their hijinks. They're doing like an undercover mission. Vader and Boba Fett kind of steal the show as it is.
Wait, it's a Vader and Boba team up?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
but
it's
like later on in the book.
Okay,
so they're because Luke and Vader don't know that they're related yet. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the like a good portion of the book is like Luke trying to figure out about his dad, mourning the death of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and there's a lot of really good stuff in here. Boba Fett and Luke Skywalker throw hands at one point, and it's
like straight up fist fight.
Like
Boba wins, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
okay.
Here, let me say that I'm not going to spoil it, but like, yes and no.
I was gonna say, as great of a Jedi as Luke is in terms of just straight throwing hands,
because Luke gets away, but it's kind of like Boba like pieced him up.
I gotcha.
But
wait, is this the book with the panel of Boba Fett figuring out his last name and Vader cracks the glass?
Well, I wasn't gonna say that, but since you brought it up, yes. So the whole
dude, that's the whole mark. Read it because it's that.
I know. Well, yeah. So what happens is Vader hires Boba Fett to go after Luke Skywalker. He doesn't know that he's his son yet. And so that's when they have their fight. He goes to Tatooine and finds out where Luke is.
Really quick. Because where else would they go in a Star Wars story?
Yeah, right, of course. I think he actually had to go back there to get like one of Ben's journals. I think that was one of the reasons he went back. But he finds him, they throw hands, and during the course of the fight, Boba Fett figures out Luke Skywalker's last name, Skywalker, and so he goes back to Vader, back on the Star Destroyer, and he's like, "Hey, I found out like who you're after." He's like, "Who is it?" He goes, "His name is Luke Skywalker," and then you see like it's just like a still panel of Vader just like staring off into the distance, and then it like pans out, and you see like all the glass like in like the window that he's looking out of, it's all cracked, and it just says Skywalker ... So like he figured
Like
it
he
out.
repeats it?
Yeah, like he figured it out. And so anyway, there's also a lot of really good stuff in here with Han Solo and Princess Leia. Cool. Obviously they don't have the relationship that they have obviously by the end of the original trilogy. But there's actually a lot of surprises with Han's past that I like one of the not the last panel, because the last panel is the Vader panel. But one of the last panels in the book is like a really big revelation of Han's past, and I was like, I was reading and I went, no way, like it's one of those.
Oh, like you didn't even know?
No, I was like, I had no
cool.
clue.
That's very cool.
So anyway, like I said, I'm going to be collecting the rest of this over the course of probably a couple of months. You might see a later issue if I get to do Read of the Week later on. But anyway, if you are a Star Wars fan, or if you're interested in getting in Star Wars, especially if you're a fan of the original trilogy, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, and the whole gang, I highly recommend that you pick this up and at least read the first issue.
Well, and I feel like to your point where you were saying earlier about the whole it being a 10 trade volume run, I feel like with the Star Wars trades, it's technically Marvel.
Right.
But what I feel like is different with the Marvel and the DC is Marvel and DC, when you get those really big runs, you kind of have to it's hard to just read one of them.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like with some of the Star Wars stuff, you can just read the first trade, and because you kind of already know what happens in terms of movies, and it's like you can just enjoy the story for what it is in one trade, which I think would be some of the marketing for that.
Yeah, well, because I've read because I've got a lot of Star Wars like one-off books, but like the cool thing about this is that after I was finished with it, I was like, oh, I have to go buy the second one. Like I wasn't like, oh, okay, cool, and throw it back on the shelf. Like I want to go buy the second one.
Sweet, very cool, man.
But anyway, thank y'all for listening. Read of the Week, Star Wars, highly recommend it. And then we're gonna go.
Wait, really quick. What's the title of the trade?
It's just Star Wars.
No, dude.
Oh, Skywalker Strikes.
Skywalker
Strikes. In case you can't see that. But anyway, thank y'all for listening to our Read of the Week, and we're gonna go into our next segment.
Okay, so for our final segment, we're going to do a follow-up from last week's. Last week's we did a top 5 villains we would like to see get their own movie from the surge of all the new villain movies the movie companies have been doing. So this week, something a little bit different, but it is still a follow-up. What we're doing is, with Marvel entering a new stage into their film universe, as well as DC going under James Gunn, we're going to give 5 heroes that we would like to see. Now, we're not talking about like the spotlight heroes. We're not talking, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. We're talking about, the characters that don't get the normal spotlight. Also, because Marvel and now DC under James Gunn are trying to make everything canon, so that's animation, movies, video games, when we're doing these pitches, they're not necessarily going to be movies. They could be a TV show. They could be an animated series. They could be an animated movie, a video game. And we'll kind of go into that more with each selection. But yeah, we'll go from 5 to 1, and we'll start out with Scott's number 5.
Yes, so my number 5, and before I say this, yes, I know that he's already had a TV show, but my number 5 is The Punisher.
Ooh, okay.
So
I like that.
I want them to hopefully keep the same actor. I think he did a great job in the show.
John Bernthal?
Yes. But I want to see like a movie version of what his Punisher looks like. Because we've had 1-2 Punisher movies before with like 2 different actors, and they were like, they were okay.
Yeah, I don't even think I've seen them. I know what you're talking about, but I haven't even seen them.
Yeah, but like I want to see like a 2.5-hour movie of just the Punisher going and like taking bounties, messing up people. You can even have Daredevil if you want him in there. This like Charlie Cox Daredevil, but just like a street level, him just going in messing up dudes and just like taking names.
Well, and it would be cool also if they did it like, with a lot of times with Punisher stories, you kind of see them kind of use the fallback of his origin a lot. It would be cool if this was like Punisher in like year 6 or 7.
Well, yeah, because we don't need to. We've already had the TV show.
Yeah, it's like year 6, year 7.
We don't need to see all the origin story. We don't need that.
Or you could do a movie picking up straight from season 2.
Or that, I'd be cool.
That'd be sweet. Yeah, I like that pick a lot.
Anyway,
so my number 5 is going to be Gambit. I'm a big Gambit fan, so especially with them doing Hugh Jackman in the new Deadpool movie, with them doing X-Men 97 coming up, I would love to see whether it's an animated show, a movie. I want to see Gambit We made the joke last week about Channing Tatum, but it doesn't have to be Channing Tatum. I just think Gambit's a very cool character, and in a time where Marvel is looking for new heroes to kind of pioneer this, they're doing the Fantastic Four. It's more than likely they're going to do X-Men. So with that coming up, make Gambit one of like your main dudes. Like Gambit is that guy, and he gets overshadowed a lot because he's in a team with Cyclops and Wolverine and Jean Grey and Storm. So it makes sense. I get it.
Right.
But like Gambit is like for like those who don't know, Gambit is like the equivalent of like a kind of like not obviously the same character, but the kind of role of like Aquaman. And that because Aquaman's in the Justice League, he kind of gets overshadowed a lot of the time. But like when you give Aquaman time to shine and give him a story, like Aquaman is a great character for good storytelling. And Gambit's the same way. So I think a spotlight for Gambit, like I said, it doesn't have to be a movie, however you choose to incarnate that. But for me, my number 5 is going to be Gambit. So
that's a good pick.
Coming off that, what's your number 4?
So my number 4 is Green Lantern. So I know that there's some sort of Green Lantern project that's been slated with the new James Gunn.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to be yet.
But the reason I said Green Lantern is because I want to see not just Hal or just John. Like I want to see like a buddy cop, like multiple Green Lanterns. I think it would be really cool if you did like Hal Jordan has already been a Green Lantern for a little bit.
Do you mean like a core movie? Like doing like Kyle and Guy? And...
Yeah, well maybe not Guy, but like at least Hal and John. Like I want to see I really want to see a buddy cop movie with the two of them.
Okay.
Like you can have Sinestro in there, you can have Atrocitus, not just Hal Jordan and like Kilowog. Like
I like that too because if you've read the Jeff Johns Green Lantern run, like it really displays how much John looks up to Hal as a Green Lantern and as a man.
Yes.
So if you kind of do that, Hal being the vet Green Lantern taking the lead and John being the new, not maybe brand new, but newer.
Right.
Yeah, I like that pitch a lot.
Because then you can show like the experience and more level-headedness of Hal versus like the more hot-headed like Marine of John.
Right. Because it would be cool to see a Hal also that isn't a goofball.
Yeah, like
it would be cool to see Hal being like taken seriously.
Yeah, because I know a lot of times, especially like in the DCAU, he's just kind of like the hey, I make a goofy joke, I get beat up every now and then. Like
I'm a ladies' man.
Yeah, and then even with the new animated universe that they did, like they immediately made him evil, and then he got killed. Which I'm like, that's cool for an Elseworld story, but don't do that in your main universe.
Don't make that canon.
Yeah, no. But anyway, so my pick would be maybe a buddy cop. Green Lantern.
I love that. I actually like that a lot. Okay, so coming off your number 4, mine is also a green character, and mine's Martian Manhunter.
Oh.
So for me, I want to see Martian Manhunter in the Justice League flat out. I don't want to see Cyborg. Do not replace Martian Manhunter with Cyborg again. That's not because I don't like Cyborg. I love Cyborg. If you listen to our DCEU podcast, a couple weeks back, one of my favorite things from the DCEU and the Snyder Cut was Cyborg. It's not that I don't like him as a character. It's not that I don't think he's useful. I just think Martian Manhunter is far more interesting.
Yes.
I think he's far more interesting. And what you get with Martian Manhunter that you don't get with Cyborg is you know how like when you like go into an office and they make the jokes, that's like the personality hire? Martian Manhunter, John, is not that he's a personality hire, but like he's like the heart and soul of the team. Yeah. He holds the team together. You see when Bruce and Clark are getting into it, or Wonder Woman and Hal are getting into it, John is the guy who brings everyone back together, who reminds everyone of who they are because of how much he needs to belong. Because he is the last of his species. He's watched his family die, and he found this family again. And he knows how important it is. I also think he's one of the most powerful characters in comic books, and no one talks about that.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I think there's been multiple times where Superman has said, "Yeah, Martian Manhunter."
Like if me and John win at it, I'm gonna be in trouble.
Yeah.
So Martian Manhunter's great. I think also you can do a lot in terms of. I just think he gives a lot of diversity, and I don't mean that in terms of like race. I just mean that in terms of like aesthetics and the way they set the league up and the visuals of it. I think Martian Manhunter would just be great. I mean that. Ironically enough, at the end of the Snyder Cut, when you see John, it was supposed to be Jon Stewart, but we see John Johns. But like just that, man, like seeing Batman talk to Martian Manhunter in a movie, I was like, I want that. So I really hope that we get to see Martian Manhunter. Because I see people all the time say, well, you have to do Cyborg because Cyborg ties into Darkseid. Guys, they've been doing Justice League stories with Darkseid before Cyborg for years.
Yeah.
The Mother Box is not the only way that they can do that story. Also, that Mother Box story with Cyborg came from the New 52. That's like a newer story in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Cyborg was that was not always his story.
Yeah.
So
I think Cyborg does, not that I don't like him in the Justice League, kind of like what you said, but I think Cyborg works best as like the Teen Titans older brother figure.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. And I don't think that there can't be a point where he graduates to the League.
Yeah.
But in terms of being a founding member, I don't love that. So I would really like to see Martian Manhunter going into the new James Gunn universe. But
I really like that pick.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your third?
So my third, I have a surface level knowledge of this hero, but Ghost Rider.
Ooh.
So like I said, I've seen bits and pieces of the Nicolas Cage movies.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Trust me, I know Ghost Rider. That's a good pick.
Yeah, so I just think because like you said, Marvel is heading into I know they're technically still in the same phase, but like they're heading into a new era, so to speak, where they need new heroes and they need diversity of different characters, and I don't just mean race, I mean characterization of different heroes. Yeah. And I think if you had like a Punisher and Ghost Rider, and then you had your Fantastic Four, your X-Men, and maybe even Spider-Man.
Have like just a bunch of different themes.
Yeah, and also like what would be really cool is like I feel like if you kind of round out like the new slate with these characters like Punisher, Ghost Rider, Daredevil, X-Men, it kind of like brings us back more to classic like 80s, 90s Marvel.
Instead of like legacy characters.
Yeah, because we've talked about this before. Prior to the MCU, no one was really rooting for Iron Man and Thor. Like it was like
people were aware of them, but it wasn't.
But it was like Hulk, the X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four,
Ghost Rider. The Nick Cage movies.
Yeah, the Nick Cage movies. Like I said, I've seen bits and pieces of them, and the things I've seen, I thought it was really cool. So, like I said, I have a very surface knowledge of it, but I thought it would be a really cool character to see on the screen. So
you're correct, sir. I really like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so going into my number 3, kind of similar to what you just said. Silver Surfer, please, Marvel. And not just in the Fantastic Four movie. I want to see a Silver Surfer movie. He's not a sidekick. He's not. He's one of the only characters that can, by himself, go toe-to-toe with Galactus.
Yep.
He's the Silver Surfer. As much as I love the Silver Surfer tie-ins with the Fantastic Four, and they kind of go hand in hand at this point, I love that, especially as a Fantastic Four fan. And if we got to see maybe the setup of him in this new Fantastic Four movie, that's great. Don't limit him to that. Silver Surfer can be your next Vision. He can be that next like mystical Doctor Strange character for you. Yeah. That overtly like god-like powerful character who has such a detailed tragic backstory. If you know, I won't spoil it for you because it's a great story. But if you know the story of Silver Surfer, he comes from some pretty dark stuff, and it shaped the hero he is now, and it's very compelling. As well as he's just cool, dude. He's super cool. So I want to see the Silver Surfer in this new age of Marvel. I don't want him to just be tied down to the Fantastic Four. I would love to see a Silver Surfer movie on his own. Especially kind of like what you said last week in terms of a Guardians treatment. Where you get this not on Earth, this space, he's going from planet to planet, realm to realm, jumping, all these different things. You could figure out the plot as you go, but just that kind of aesthetic and that theme of a movie I think would fit great for Marvel going into this new era. Yeah. And I think Silver Surfer's the character to do it. My third pick would be Silver Surfer.
All right, I like that.
So going now, we have your number 2.
So my number 2, it's one of my favorite DC characters of all time, is Nightwing.
Yeah, there we go.
So I know that in the new Batman and Brave and Bold movie, we're going to see Damian Wayne's Robin. It's Damian Wayne, right?
Well, so we don't know. The thought is possibly Damian, only because the fact that they're calling it Brave and the Bold, and the Brave and the Bold run, the Robin is Damian. Right. But that hasn't been confirmed.
So whether it's Damian, Tim, whatever. I would really like to see, because one of the biggest things, with Batman movies, we've never, like, live action Batman movies, we've never really gotten to see, like, the Bat family besides, like, you know, Batman and Robin.
Don't disrespect Chris O'Donnell's Robin.
I know. I'm just saying.
The nipples were iconic. All right?
But that's one thing that I think if it...
Hey, and the one earring.
Yeah.
How he had the one earring, like, so 90s,
and also
dude.
he's, like, 27.
He's like 20.
Robin. Yeah.
He's 20. He's a grown man, and he's got like the close chain, or not. It's not like a chain. It's like a beaded necklace. He's got the earring.
Yeah.
And he's
just,
like, they've got the scene.
So 90s.
They've got the scene where he's doing the laundry. And he's like,
with the
like an Alfred. Just don't disrespect the greatest Robin we've ever seen in Chris O'Donnell. All right.
Funny enough, I actually, after I saw that movie, I would do that with my song. I thought it made me cool.
You were like, yeah, dude.
It was like, I'm Robin. Anyway, but like, I think going forward in this new universe of DC, one of the things, and I said Nightwing because Nightwing is my favorite of the Bat family, obviously other than Batman. Mm-hmm. He's my favorite Bat family member. And I think, like, I was just even, like, the other night I was reading one of my older Nightwing comics, and there's just so many good things you can do, like with the relationship between him and Batman and Barbara and possibly even Tim and Damian. Like, there's just so many cool things that you can do with Nightwing. And he's one of my favorite characters, so I really love to see him.
We're getting a compendium from him later this year, which will be a good read.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I think they're starting to. I think whenever they do that with books, I think they've got plans for Nightwing. I don't know what it is, but they've got to have plans, because even if they do Damian and the James Gunn Batman, there's a lot of talk of Robin being in the Batman 2.
Yeah.
So Dick Grayson's going to be the Robin in one of them. Yeah. Whichever one he's not the Robin in of that one, he'll be the Robin of the other. So we'll eventually, I'm assuming, see Robin become Nightwing and everything else. So.
Yeah, well, just to kind of go on a side note, like, I'm not quite understanding why DC has always been so afraid to, like, put Robin in Batman movies.
I really, really do. I think it's Batman and Robin.
You think?
I really think it's that happened, and they were just like, okay.
No more Robin.
Also, I mean, in all fairness, I think, you know, with the exception of after Batman and Robin, the Bale movies came out.
Yeah.
And they did the dumb thing with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh yeah, like his name is Robin.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, you should use that name, and he like finds the Batcave or whatever. But like, I think for a while there, because so many, like, you had the Tobey Spider-Man trilogy, you had the X-Men, you had Iron Man, Incredible, a lot of these movies, the Amazing Spider-Mans, you were having these movies coming out where like people were trying to establish heroes.
Right.
And so I think Warner Brothers just didn't want to touch Robin at all, and I think now that we're getting into a time where you can start doing the more unknown characters and things like that. The Ant-Mans have been successful, you know, movies like that. I think they're like, okay, maybe we can, now's the time we can start doing this.
Well, even more to your point, like, even if Robin isn't in any of the Batman sequels or in the new Batman movie that's coming out, like, I think Nightwing would be a good reintroduction of the Dick Grayson Robin type character, because he's a little older, he's a little bit more experienced. There's even at times there's bad blood between him and Batman.
Yep.
Which there's
especially
a lot
at
of
the beginning of his career.
Yeah, there's a lot of storytelling you could do with that, and even if you want to bring in another Robin, whether it's Tim, Damian, like the what's the Batman animated series? It's like the
Old Wounds.
Old Wounds. That's probably, I'm not even lying, that might be one of my favorite episodes.
It's a great episode.
Yeah. So anyway, I think Nightwing would be a fantastic pick for a new DC movie.
Awesome. I love that pick a lot. So my number 2 is not one character, it is a couple. It is, I want to see a Justice League Dark movie.
Ooh,
okay. I think Justice League Dark could be James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy.
DC version.
Yes. So we've seen that he already has a kind of between Suicide Squad and Guardians, he kind of has a niche for doing these lesser known groups.
Yeah, the more weird, obscure characters.
Yeah, and especially with a group like Justice League Dark where you've got, he's already talked about interest in Swamp Thing. So you've got Swamp Thing, Constantine, Etrigan, Zatanna, Dr. Fate. You know, you can kind of swap.
Deadman.
Deadman, depending on who you want to do.
Right.
But I'm a huge fan of Justice League Dark. I've always been a huge Etrigan fan. Just since I was a kid, I always thought Etrigan was just really cool. I've grown to really like Swamp Thing as a character. I've read the Alan Moore run. I think there's so much depth with that. I was a huge fan of the Swamp Thing show that ran for like one season in like 2018 or 2017. I love that show before it got canceled. So I think the Justice League Dark could, like I said, I think it could be, because I think people are getting burnt out on Suicide Squad. I think
Yeah.
people are getting burnt out
So
on Suicide.
it could be kind of like one of those like B tier teams that like.
So you
have
could
a fun
still
movie
have
with.
that movie, just you don't have to do the Suicide Squad.
I got you.
Because they were actually talking about the other day, like the specifically on Steam, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, like the player count has plummeted.
Yeah, it's like less than 1,000.
It's
It was
less than
something-
1,000.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers came out yesterday and said that they were like, this is exceeding well below our expectations. So, like, I
Yeah.
think they're figuring out people are kind of getting burnt out on the Suicide Squad.
Or bad writing for the Suicide Squad.
Or bad writing for the Suicide Squad, which I love to say. I love both the Suicide Squad movies. I know the first
Yeah.
one's not great, but I like it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so I think people are kind of getting burnt out on it. I'm sure he's also getting burnt out on it as well.
Yeah.
He's already done the movie. He's trying to do all this new stuff. So I think the fact that he's voiced interest in Swamp Thing and voiced interest in kind of those lesser-known DC characters, I think Justice League Dark is a great way to go at it.
Yeah.
And I think people would love it because it gives you that. DC's very well. The one thing I always give Marvel over DC is Marvel has more themes and kind of vibes to their universe, where DC's it's kind of everyone's godlike.
Yeah.
Even not their powers, like just they're all like just this like statue in a city like looking up, like that's just kind of the way DC is, and I love that, but it is the truth. And so I mean it's a big reason why a lot of people don't find Superman relatable. So I think this would be one of those movies where these heroes are like, yeah, they're heroes, but like they're not good guys.
A little more crude.
They're
a little more down to earth.
They're
Yeah.
real. John Constantine is like an
Alcoholic,
alcoholic
yeah.
and a womanizer, and like they're not great people, but they're trying to do good. And I think that would be a very successful movie, and I think it would bring a lot of new fans
Yeah.
to DC that don't particularly like the vibe of DC, but they're like, oh, well, this is different. I'll go see this, and then
Yeah.
you hook people in doing that.
Well,
So,
because
yeah.
then even to branch off of that, like if James Gunn has a similar end goal as kind of like the MCU did, where he brings all of the teams and all of the characters together at the end, and whether it be Darkseid, Brainiac, whoever it ends up being, that would be really cool to see, like the Justice League and the Justice League Dark like
having to
teaming
team
and
up. You get like an
kinda-
Apocalypse War kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. But yeah,
Especially with as powerful as Constantine is, there's a lot you can do there. Even off that, you could give Constantine his own movie. Constantine 100% could get. I mean, I guess technically he's gotten one, that one with Keanu Reeves, but
yeah.
But like, yeah. So I think that's something that I think James Gunn would absolutely excel in, and it'd be something I think a lot of people would want to see. So yeah. But all right, going into your number one, who's your number one pick?
My number one. You actually already said it earlier.
Martian Manhunter.
Yep. So, Martian Manhunter, I've grown to really like this character over the last couple of years. I finished watching like the entirety of the animated Justice League show from the early 2000s, and I was expecting, oh, okay, cool, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, and I remember like at the end I was like, I think John might be my favorite character from that show. And you kind of touched on it a little more, and kind of this might be a little deep here, but like one of the biggest things that Martian Manhunter struggles with, especially in the Justice League show, is loneliness.
Yeah.
Like feeling like he doesn't belong. His entire race is gone. Especially with like Batman's one of his confidants, but like he tries to hold the team together. He tries to be the glue, and he actually has a really big heart too. Which like
huge.
when a lot of people have like a surface level knowledge of Martian Manhunter, they just think he's like this stoic, non-feeling green shapeshifter person, and that's not who he is at all. And I think like, again, to get a little deep here, like especially like there's a lot of people right now that are struggling with
that would
loneliness,
relate to Martian Manhunter.
like post pandemic. Yes, it's been a couple of years, but post pandemic and all of that. And I think that Martian Manhunter could be that guy. It's like, oh, I understand what he's to an extent. I understand what he's going through, and like it could bring in not only a lot of fans, but it also could just give us a really heartfelt movie.
Well, because you even have like with John especially, like there's so many scenes where you see that, like at the end of I don't think it's Justice League Unlimited. I think it's Justice League of when they're in Paris and they're trying, and John's not there, and then you see this husband walking with his wife, and he's like, "I love you, but I have to go," and then John becomes and Wonder Woman's like, "Oh, John." Like he went to go and try and find a life, and he found a woman he loved, and he created that's the whole thing. At the end of the day, if you know Martian Manhunter, on his planet, he was a family man.
Yeah.
He happened to be a warrior, but he was a family man. He
had a wife, had kids.
Had a wife and kids, and you see a lot of that torment in the show.
Yeah.
Like that's what he longs for. He longs for companionship and being together and, having love for other people. And so, like, I think to your point, I think a lot of people would relate to Martian Manhunter as a character. I think if James Gunn does not utilize Martian Manhunter, it's a huge fumble.
Oh,
in
100%.
some way, if they don't,
and
I think it's a
he
huge
doesn't
fumble.
need to be a background character just for aesthetics. Like, he needs to be one of the main. Like you said, I think we should definitely have Martian Manhunter as a founding member over Cyborg.
Yes,
100%.
100%.
So, anyway, that was my number one pick. Now let's go into.
So mine's a little biased. Mine is Jason Todd, the Red Hood.
Jason Todd.
So for those of you that don't know, as much as Batman is my favorite character of all time and it's gotten me through some tough spots in life, I have never related to a character more than Jason Todd. Just a lot of, like, his angst as a young man and, some of the things he struggles with, I struggled with, and still to this day do it to some extent. And so as a young guy, like, especially when Under the Red Hood came out, like I really related to Red Hood, and could like as I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, no, I get it, man. I get it. And just reading, diving deeper into his lore, into comic books, I love the Red Hood as a character, and I think people are clamoring a little bit for him, actually, especially after you've seen the backlash to Suicide Squad to Kill the Justice League, and everyone's like, okay, let Jason get his get back.
Yeah.
Like, everyone wants to see the Red Hood. Mm-hmm. He's super intriguing. He has one of the most tragic backstories in comic books. I think you can do a whole lot, especially when you're going into this. You've got these two new Batmans now, and both Batmans don't have to be lonely. One needs to have a Bat family.
Yes.
And you can, dive into that with Jason as the Red Hood and, everything else. Especially if you played Gotham Knights, you saw a lot of that and that growth with Jason in that game.
Well, not only that, like, if you have a Red Hood in your universe, it does a lot of growing as a character for Bruce.
Yes, I think there's so much depth to his character, not just for him, but for the people around him. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if that's a movie. I don't know if that's a TV show. I don't know if that's a video game. I just know that going into this new DC universe where everything is one canon, we need Jason Todd to get a spotlight of some kind. He needs something to shine.
A show.
People are clamoring for it. It would be ultra successful. And so, my first overall pick is the Red Hood.
Well, that is a great pick. I think it's funny how we both had a Nightwing.
Nightwing and Red Hood.
Which that's our top favorite characters. But anyway, go ahead and close this out.
All right, so guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for watching. If you could hit the like and the notification bell, just let you know when we put content out. If you like what we have to say, man, share it. We don't do this for likes, views, and numbers. We just want to grow a community of a bunch of fellow nerds we can talk about comic books and movies with. It's our biggest passion and hobby, so we really enjoy it. We hope y'all have a blessed week, and we'll see y'all next time.